Okay, so let's talk now about the Prigozhin's mutiny. I'm pretty sure you've heard about it. It's still in the news right now because it happened just like less than a few days ago. How it started, right? People don't understand, like, oh, Prigozhin, blah, 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 why he's done it. This is why he's done it. And this is what like Putin just admitted, and I will show you once again that um, Wagner Group was never private military company. It was never a private military company. This is a terrorist organization. You can call it maybe organized military. Basically, it is an arm and was always an arm of Russian army that they've used to kind of use like what's it called, like a plausible deniability, that oh, this is not ours. This is exactly the same story I told you before. This is exactly the same story as they've used with annexation of Crimea. Oh, this is not ours. This is some green man. Oh, this is not ours. This is Wagner Group. And this group, Wagner Group, not only was paid $1 billion per year, which Putin himself admitted just yesterday, and I'll show you this again today. But they've used to commit all sorts of crimes, atrocities, all sorts of absolute despicable and heinous shit under the pretext that Russia can always say, this is not ours, this is not our group, this is not us, this is not our army. We don't know who they are. They are, mercenaries who are kind of doing it out of their own volition. We can't do anything with them, deal with them yourself. And yesterday he admitted that no, it was always our guy, so to speak, which is kind of interesting that he admitted this so quickly while nobody really pressured him to do so, and yet he did. So it just shows the mental capacity of that individual. But that's another point. So Prigozhin, think about it. You are a guy, this cunt, who is a criminal who spent like 10 years in jail or something like that. I've made a video about him. Check out YouTube channel. Probably will be, if you just search on in YouTube channel named Prigozhin, it will be there. He was quite literally chef, the person who cooks for Putin. He was getting a shit ton of money via that avenue. Then he created, well, not he created, but he kind of joined Wagner Group because he's not an actual creator of Wagner Group. Wagner Group creator is actually fucking Utkin. I forgot Utkin, whatever. But if you see who Utkin is, you're gonna be very not surprised that a piece of shit like that created like look at this person with literally swastikas all over him. Not particularly surprising, sort of. Not particularly surprising, right? So this was actually creator of Wagner Group, this piece of shit, right? So then, you as a Prigozhin, I guess like later it's basically your shit, right? I don't know what that Utkin did was doing, but this is your shit. You know Putin, you have the contract for $1 billion, maybe less so before the war, but still you have multi-$100 million contracts, right? You have your own private army. You have tanks, you have sort of armored personnel carriers, you have even fucking like helicopters. That's not a private military company. So, this we need to understand. This is a military group. This is a terrorist organization, whatever you want to call it. But this is not a private military company. So you have that. And then Russian Ministry of Defense orders you to sign a contract with them to essentially be dependent on them and be subordinate to them. You, as a guy with $1 billion and your small army of at least like 25,000 people, what do you think you're gonna do? well, you don't want to sign it, obviously, because you are doing your own shit. You have access to, or you had access to, actual prisoners that you could recruit from prisons and send to war, send as into meat grinder onto the front lines in Bakhmut. That's what they've been doing there for like 8 months. Literally sending, I don't want to say hundreds of, but at least like thousands of people, literally just to die, with no purpose whatsoever, no tactics or anything. Just like more meat will solve the problem. Eventually, it kind of solved the problem, but by the time there's nothing left of Bakhmut, so like who cares about that fucking city? So again, some cunt called Sergei Shoigu, who is a minister of defense in Russia, who has never served in army, let's start with that, ordered all volunteered units, as they call, to sign a contract by July 1st. So July 1st is your cut-off date as a Prigozhin. And then Putin comes out and says, yeah, you need to sign it. What does Prigozhin think? Prigozhin think, fuck that shit. What's interesting is that apparently this cunt is also either stupid or actually, well, cares. But as it turned out, yeah, he's not stupid. He just cares about his own fucking head more than anything else in this world. It's interesting that he actually captured Rostov-na-Donu and was going sort of to Voronezh and then to Moscow. Nobody really did anything to stop him. In fact, he was sitting and talking. So I'm pretty sure, like, as they were entering the city or things like that, there were no sort of defense from either police or whatever fucking army Russia has there stationed. Nothing of that nature. So they captured basically the main areas of Rostov. Prigozhin himself was sitting basically and talking to like a few generals there, I'm pretty sure, or at least like higher officers. And like there are pictures. I just wanted to find the picture, but apparently can't. And yeah, it's only like when they went with their convoy to Moscow that actually Moscow sent a few like helicopters and I think like a plane or whatever, and even I'm pretty sure it was like a plane or a helicopter. Some pilots basically refused to drop bombs on that convoy, on the cars basically, and on Prigozhin basically, which is also interesting and shows that even amongst like army people, even amongst basically the military personnel, there are people who would rather support a criminal. I mean, who would rather support one criminal versus another criminal? Yeah, let's put it that way. Yeah, so that's very interesting, actually. That's really fucking interesting, I have to say. But yeah. So that's that. And he called off the mutiny, presumably because sort of maybe like, I think he has like a daughter or something. Basically, presumably because some of the family members might have been threatened. He didn't think about securing their sort of safety, and he did it once again because he thought he might. And by the way, he went to Rostov first because he had news that Shoigu, which is the Minister of Defense, was in Rostov. So he wanted kind of, I guess, either like capture them or, I mean, I don't know. I'd like either capture them or maybe, I don't even know, like, or talk to them, like kill them. I don't fucking know what the plan was. But what's interesting is that, like I'm saying, there were not a lot of pushback, and so if he wanted, he probably could have actually captured Moscow, not Kremlin, but probably like an Ostankino, like a television main television sort of center and started to kind of, or like a parliament, things like that. Pretty sure he could have done it because again, you have tanks, you have like a heavy armored vehicles. And yes, in Moscow there are a lot of what's called Rosgvardia, which is just a fucking kind of personnel sort of in all those like anti-riot uniform, which is good to beat up peaceful protesters with flowers, but not particularly great when you're facing a fucking tank. And it's just interesting that he turned out to be just a fucking stupid piece of fucking shit chicken. That he literally could have created like a full-blown coup in Russia, and yet he called it off. And now his whole Wagner Group is completely sort of disbanded. He will not get his $1 billion fucking financing or anything like that. And so he turned out to be just a fucking pussy, which is from the guy who spoke all the time so brazenly and so like blatantly and so like, oh, fuck this, fuck that. He turned out to be, quite a fucking piece of shit pussy, which is pretty interesting. Which is pretty fucking interesting. And now, apparently, this piece of shit and at least some of his mercenaries are gonna be stationed in Belarus. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is exactly what our country needed now. Not only we have a fucking dictator with a fucking grip on everyone, and I will show you the absolutely despicable sentences that people are getting here in this country. Now we have fucking mercenaries, despicable pieces of shit like terrorists on our who are welcomed on our territory. That is insanity. That is true insanity. And I am here in Belarus talking to you about all of these things. That's why I don't use my face. That's why I'm trying to stay sort of as under the radar as I can, because this is quite literally the fucking matter of danger to life. To me, if I would use my own face and actually tell you about all of these developments, so to speak. I'm going to continue in just 1 second.